At 6:40 a.m., I am wiping maple syrup off table 4 while my husband slows his SUV like a parade float and gives me that smile that says, I belong to him and should be grateful for the honor. It's always the same little theater. He rolls down the tinted window just enough so I can see his sunglasses and the reflection of my own face in them. Then he says, in this fake coach voice, enjoy your tips, Diana, like he's handing out game strategy instead of condescension. Then he peels off toward Maple Ridge and the rest of his superior suburban morning, which probably includes a protein shake, a shower that uses more water than this café sink gets in a week, and a quick check of his hair in 3 different mirrors. Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I smile and wave like a supportive spouse in a commercial. Then I go back to scraping dried syrup off the table with my thumbnail because we're out of the good scrub pads again. People think I don't notice things. People are adorable. Morning Finch smells like espresso and overworked air freshener. My grandfather named it before I was born and never changed it. He said birds don't rebrand and neither should coffee. The sign out front is chipped around the edges, and every spring I threaten to repaint it, and every spring I don't because the chips matter. The regulars say so. We're the reliable spot in a town that pretends reliability is tacky. I flip chairs down from the tops of tables, check pastry stock, restock lids, breathe, tell myself today I will not let Evan get in my head. The bell over the door hasn't been replaced since 1998. It lets out this small metallic cry every time someone walks in, like even it is overworked and underpaid. At 6:45 sharp, Jonah steps in. Like always, he's wearing the same brown jacket he wears year-round, even in July, and carrying his little black notebook. He's got those tired eyes that tell you he sees all the angles, even when he's pretending to just be here for the muffins. Morning, Finch, he says. Morning, Hale, I say. Jonah Hale, insurance field investigator, low voice, gentle posture, eyes that miss nothing. He's not law enforcement, thank God. He just goes where problems already happened and writes down why the story people are selling doesn't match the shape of the hole in the drywall. He calls himself boring. I call him practical. Practical is a compliment around here. Blueberry, I ask. Blueberry, he says, and regular coffee. Don't give me any foam art. I get insecure if my coffee is prettier than my life. You say that every morning, I say. And you still laugh every morning, he says. Because customer loyalty is important, I tell him, and hand him his order. He slides cash into the tip jar, and I pretend my heart doesn't react to that word anymore. Tips. Evan has turned a 2-syllable word into a slur. Amazing how talented he is when it comes to ruining the ordinary. Jonah doesn't rush off. He leans on the counter like the place belongs to him. That's how Morning Finch works. We're not fancy. Our chairs wobble. Our Wi-Fi cuts out when it rains too hard. People still come. People come because they can breathe here. Evan doing his pep talk again? Jonah asks, casual. He's very supportive, I say. Uh-huh, Jonah says, sipping his coffee. Did it sound like support, or did it sound like, I'm more important than you and want you to know it before 8 a.m. support? Look at you, I say. Running language analysis before sunrise. He taps the notebook. Occupational hazard. I look at the notebook, then at him. You practice that line in the mirror? Yes, he says, but only the kitchen mirror, so not as fancy as Evan. That gets a real laugh out of me, the kind that sneaks up and shakes loose a knot I didn't even know was sitting between my shoulders. Jonah smiles a little when he hears it, and I realize he said that just to get that noise out of me. This is why he is tolerated in here before official open. Anyway, he says, softer, you holding up? I want to say, holding up to what, Jonah? Holding up to running a café that usually breaks even if the espresso machine doesn't need a part. I have to order from some shop in Vermont, run by a guy who will only speak to you at 2 p.m., and only if you call him brother. Holding up to getting up at 5:10 and smelling like fryer oil before the sun has fully committed to the sky. Holding up to being married to a man who talks to me like I'm his cheerful assistant and not his wife. Instead I say, sure, because I am from Maple Ridge, and in Maple Ridge we do not bleed in public. We get manicures and then pick at the cuticles in private until they sting. We smile while doing it. He nods like he doesn't believe me, which is correct, and heads for his usual table by the window. The first rush hits at 7:10. Teachers on their way to the middle school, 2 nurses from Hartford General, who always come in together and split a spinach wrap, even though they could each absolutely finish one. Realtor mums in yoga pants, who are already dressed to show a house, and it's not even 8. If I sound judgmental, that's because I am. Judgment is the unofficial currency here. You don't even have to spend it. You just carry it with you like a designer tote. The realtor mums do the glance. The glance is a Maple Ridge classic. It's a sweep from my shoes to my ponytail, pausing at the stains on my apron, then a flicker of sympathy. Not real sympathy. Stage sympathy. The kind that says, I'm better than you, but I'd never say that out loud. I'm too polite. I beam at them like I'm thrilled to refill their decaf. I am dangerously good at beaming. If you've never lived in a place like Maple Ridge, let me explain how it works. The lawns are vacuumed, the hedges are trimmed within an inch of their lives, and nobody's trash can is allowed to peek out in public view for more than 15 minutes after the truck goes by. There are newsletters about mulch, whole newsletters, in color, with tables. The women here take Pilates classes that cost more than my monthly electric bill. They pretend they don't mind that their husbands work such long hours providing. They walk around with these stainless steel water bottles like they're in training for a hydration Olympics. Then they get in their cars and call their sisters and complain for 20 minutes straight in a whisper, so controlled you could use it to cut glass. Sometimes I think Maple Ridge is less a neighborhood and more like a stage set the size of a subdivision. Perfect porch flags, potted flowers, tasteful wreaths that rotate with the seasons on some calendar I'm not allowed to see. And in the middle of all that, there's me. My name is Diana Morgan. I run Morning Finch. I do not have a Pilates membership. I do not have a wreath calendar. I do have line item control of the muffin order and the ability to tell which marriage is cracking this month by how often somebody forgets a wallet and promises to Venmo later. I was not supposed to run Morning Finch. According to my husband's mother, Pamela, I was supposed to play around with the café thing for a while, get it out of your system, and then let Evan guide you towards something that scales. Pamela says scales like it should echo. Pamela lives on Willow Lane in the biggest colonial on the cul-de-sac. She has a walk-in pantry that looks like a very clean pharmacy. Every jar is labeled. Nothing in there is older than last Tuesday. Pamela thinks she's the heroine of Maple Ridge. Pamela also thinks I should be grateful for being in the Morgan family at all. My grandfather, Henry Ellis, did not agree with Pamela. Henry was stubborn in a way that belongs to men who built something with their hands and kept it upright for 40 years. He opened Morning Finch long before Maple Ridge went luxury. Back then it was just the town, not a lifestyle brand. He ran it without menus for the first 10 years. You'd walk in, and he'd just hand you something hot and say, "Trust me." You don't get that now. Now people want almond milk heated to a very specific temperature, and they'll yelp about it if you miss. When I was 14, and other girls were practicing eyeliner, Henry was teaching me invoices. When I was in my 20s, and the rest of my high school class was doing networking drinks, Henry was showing me how to read delivery contracts, so I wouldn't get walked all over by some distributor with too many gold rings and a fake smile. He said, "They're going to look at you and think they can push. You let them think that until it suits you not to. Then you tighten the hook." He called me Finch, not Diana. Finch. When people ask me why I stayed, why I didn't go chase some big career, somewhere with glass elevators and lanyards and espresso machines that cost more than cars, I just shrug and say, somebody had to keep Morning Finch from turning into a vape shop. But the real answer is simpler. The cafe is the only place where I'm not pretending to be something I'm not. I loved Henry. I still do, even now, when he's gone and I keep looking at the corner booth, expecting to see him sitting there with his ancient thermos and his newspaper that he refused to read on a tablet because paper doesn't spy on you. When he passed, we met with his lawyer. I was not ready for that meeting. I was not ready for a lot of things. Pamela had shown up in pearls, like it was a brunch. Evan had worn his nicest button down and had that business posture, the one where his shoulders get wider and his voice drops half an octave. That posture meant he was about to say something he thought sounded like leadership. I went into that office thinking maybe there'd be something sentimental left for me. A watch, an old photo, the battered thermos. I was not expecting to sit in a leather chair and hear a number that made Pamela gasp and clutch Evan's arm. $6 million. Not just cash, property, investments. The building Morning Finch sits inside. There was a trust. There was language. There was a clause. Henry left almost everything to me. But, and here's where Henry's humor shows up, sneaky and sharp even when he wasn't in the room anymore. He attached a condition. He said, in writing, that full control of the assets goes to me only if my spouse is faithful and honest in our marriage, up to and including the day that will is read. If not, everything goes to me alone, and my spouse is locked out permanently from any control, claim, or management. Not just of the cafe, of the house, of anything acquired under the trust umbrella. It was so quiet in that office, you could hear Pamela's bracelet slide down her wrist. The lawyer said it in a neutral voice, like he was reading a grocery list. My husband sat there blinking like someone had just switched his coffee with motor oil. Pamela sat up straighter. I sat still because if I moved at all, I wasn't sure what would come out of me. The lawyer kept going. Henry never trusted how Evan talked to me about the cafe. He told the lawyer he worried Evan saw me as cute help instead of a partner. He wanted a protection clause. He got one. So the rule was this: if Evan was faithful and honest, technically he could act in partnership with me. Not full control, but influence. A seat at the grown-up table. If Evan was not, everything stayed with me anyway, and he got nothing. Not half, not a slice. Nothing. Pamela said, "That's offensive," like we'd all agree and file a complaint with customer service. The lawyer said, "It's legally clean, Mrs. Morgan." Mr. Ellis was very precise. Evan was silent for a long time. I watched his jaw work. When Evan is trying to control himself, you can see the muscle in his jaw flex like it's doing reps. Then he turned to me, took my hand, and said, in this careful voice, "Diana, this is actually good. This means we're set, you and me. We're going to be great. I can help you manage this so you're not stressed." That was the moment my stomach knew something my brain hadn't fully admitted yet. Evan didn't hug me because he loved me. Evan hugged me because he just realized he was standing next to a vault. Right after that reading, he started acting like a rom-com husband, flowers sent to the cafe. Just thinking of you, texts, sudden interest in what I ate for lunch, touching the small of my back when we walked into Pamela's house for dinner, calling me babe in this syrupy tone like we were in a commercial for high-end mattresses. Everybody in Maple Ridge saw it and went, "Oh, Evan is so thoughtful. Diana's so lucky. Look how supportive he is of her little cafe." I'm not sure what irritated me more, the fake sweetness, or the way everyone nodded like my worth had finally been confirmed by a man behaving decently in public. Here's the part Maple Ridge doesn't know. I knew better. I knew better because my cafe opens early, and Evan is not as careful as he thinks. Let's fast forward back to now. This morning, after his usual enjoy your tips, I finish wiping table 4. I check pastry stock. I restart the latte machine because it's been moody. I run payroll numbers on the iPad under the counter. I bring Jonah his refill, regular morning chores. Then I walk to the back hallway that leads to the tiny staff restroom and grab the tablet from the charger in the drawer. We keep the tablet back here for online orders and inventory notes. We also use it to run the music playlist because Spotify thinks we're a household, not a business, and I am not about to pay the commercial soundscape solution fee, which sounds like something invented by a boardroom that's never scrubbed syrup out of grout. The thing about a shared household tablet is that sometimes, because he is rushed, because he is confident, because he thinks I am not technical, my husband forgets to fully log out of his accounts. The thing about me is that I am technical where it counts. I swipe. The tablet wakes up. His messages are still mirrored, and there it is, a thread pinned at the top with a heart icon and the name Lena P., Lena Park. Evan's assistant. Lena is mid-20s, glossy hair, smooth skin, laugh that sounds like it's been tuned for conference calls. She wears pencil skirts like a magazine ad. She leans forward at meetings in a way that makes men feel important. At last year's Maple Ridge holiday market, she introduced herself to me with a smile that never reached her eyes and said, "I've heard so much about you," which in this town translates to, "I've been given a script about what to think of you." I tap the thread. I shouldn't. I know that. I tap anyway. The first thing I see is from last night. "Lena, your idea about transferring the vendor contract is genius. Can't wait till it's just us." Then Evan, "Patience. She'll get overwhelmed. I'll step in, clean it up. Everybody wins." Then Lena again, "I like when you talk like that." I sit there with the tablet in my hands, standing between the mop sink and the dry storage shelves, where we keep extra napkins and the emergency stash of oat milk cartons Pamela calls urban. I feel something that is not shock. Shock is for people who didn't already suspect. I feel precision. I scroll. More messages, mostly work-adjacent at first. Evan complaining that I get emotional about supplier terms. Lena telling him, "You're the logical one in this marriage." Evan saying, "She'll thank me when I take control." Lena sending a selfie from inside her car, low angle, pouty mouth, captioned, "Miss you." I exhale through my nose. Quiet, controlled. Here's what I don't do. I don't run out front and throw the tablet at Jonah and make a scene. I don't call Evan and start screaming. I don't send Lena a message saying, "Hi, sweetie, it's the wife." Drama like that might feel good in the moment, but it gives away all the power. And you don't give away power when someone has just shown you how they plan to use you. Instead, I take photos. Click, click, click. Screenshots of the thread. Screenshots of the part where Lena says, "Can't wait till it's just us." Screenshots of Evan promising to step in, clean it up. Screenshots of him saying, "I'll take control so she doesn't tank the place." Screenshots of her telling him he's the logical one. I send the screenshots to my own email. Then I delete the sent mail copies from this tablet, because I am not sloppy. Then I put the tablet back on the charger, exactly how I found it, go wash my hands, look in the mirror, and practice a face that says I'm fine, and also a face that says I'm fragile. I keep both, because I'll need both. When I come back out front, Jonah looks up over his notebook. "You look like you just remembered it's tax season," he says. "Worse," I say. "Pamela's throwing a garden social tonight and I forgot to have my pearls polished." His mouth quirks. "Ah," he says. "An outdoor performance of We're All Doing Amazing." "Exactly," I say. Pamela's garden socials are Maple Ridge in its purest form. Technically, they're just neighbors having drinks in her immaculate backyard and talking about hydrangeas. In practice, they are status updates, disguised as plant talk. People gather under string lights, compliment Pamela's roses and voices that float just loud enough to be overheard, and then have little whispered side chats about who's doing okay and who's struggling a little, bless her heart. If you're wondering where a phrase like bless her heart fits in Connecticut, the answer is Pamela imported it on purpose. She thinks it makes her sound charming. What it really does is give her a way to insult other women while looking sympathetic. Tonight's garden social will not be about hydrangeas. Tonight's garden social will be about the will. News moves fast here. It moves through Pilates groups and PTA boards, and Nora. Oh, Nora. Nora Ellis and I used to be friends in the way women are friends when they're 25 and think they're on the same team. We did nail nights. We split grocery runs. We texted about recipes. Maple Ridge friendship tends to be project-based. You pair up for a season, share secrets you think will stay in the circle. Then one day you realize your secret has been turned into a story that does not belong to you anymore. Nora likes being the first to say, "Have you heard?" She likes being the faucet everyone has to come to for information. She also likes Pamela's approval. Pamela gives approval like high-end perfume samples, limited quantity, handed out with ceremony. Nora will be at Pamela's tonight. Nora will be waiting to see if I show up meek and grateful or loud and out of line. And here's where things get interesting. Before this morning, before the screenshots, I would have gone to that garden social and played nice. Smiled, held a glass of watered-down white wine. Let Pamela make her little comments about how Evan is so good with numbers and how he wants to help Diana not get overwhelmed, and how it's a blessing that Diana doesn't have to worry about management when she already has so much on her plate here at the café. I would have nodded like I appreciated the concern. Now? Now I have ammunition. Not just rumor, not just a hunch. Proof that Evan is planning to move café vendor contracts out of my hands. Proof that he is doing it behind my back. Proof that he is promising Lena some future where it's just us. Which is funny, because last I checked, us was supposed to be me and him, not him and Lena in her office heels. And proof matters because of Henry's clause. Every morning, I worked at my grandfather's old café, saving pennies while my husband, Evan, cruised by in his SUV to remind me I was beneath him. "Enjoy your tips," he'd say. But when Grandpa passed, the lawyer read his will, and everyone gasped. $6 million left to me if my spouse proved faithful and honest. Suddenly, Evan turned romantic overnight. Flowers, dinners, just checking on you, babe. But I knew better, so I waited until his affair with his assistant surfaced, complete with receipts and love notes. The inheritance clause triggered instantly. Everything reverted solely to me. When Evan realized what he'd lost, I smiled and said, "Guess the tips were worth more than you thought." That's the neat version. The truth is messier, and it's still in progress. The clause doesn't work on feelings. It works on facts. The lawyer said, faithful and honest. Evan has now provided, in his own words, evidence of dishonest intent. And Lena helpfully timestamped it. See? People think I'm cute. People are so kind to give me that advantage. I take Jonah his check, even though he hasn't asked yet. He raises an eyebrow. "I'm closing you out early," I tell him. "Pamela summons the kingdom tonight, and I want to get home in time to watch her rehearse her concerned face in the mirror." He whistles low. "That should be worth the price of admission." "Oh, it's beyond worth it," I say. "It's priceless." "Want backup?" he asks. That catches me off guard. "At Pamela's?" I say, laughing. He shrugs. "You joke, but I've seen calm neighborhoods turn real fast when money walks into the room." That's Jonah for you. He'll say something like that and then sip his regular coffee, like he didn't just predict a storm. "I'll be fine," I tell him. "This is Maple Ridge, not a turf war." He looks at me for a second, like he's thinking 10 steps ahead. Then he nods. "Text me anyway," he says. "If Pamela throws anything at you, duck behind the cheese board. It's structurally sound." I grin, and for a flicker of a moment, I feel steady. Then the bell on the door screams again, and Mrs. Reynolds from the HOA steps in to ask if we can donate muffins for the Memorial Day Yard Flag Display Committee, which is always her way of getting free muffins without having to just say, "Can I have free muffins?" The rest of the morning is the usual blur. Orders, foam, change, more orders, a delivery guy who calls me Hon in a tone that makes me want to bleach the floor after he leaves. I handle it all because that's what I do. I keep the machine running. But under the muscle memory of cafe work, there's this hum. It's low, steady, electric. It's not panic. It's not fear. It's focus. Evan thinks he's setting up a story where I am the overwhelmed wife with the sweet little café who needs his guiding hand. Pamela thinks she'll slide into that story as the wise matriarch who gently nudges me aside for the health of the business, while everyone in Maple Ridge nods along and says, "It's for the best, Diana. You're so good with people. Let Evan handle the complicated stuff." Nora thinks she'll be the one narrating all of this at brunch, throwing in phrases like, "It's just so sad," while passing on every detail like it's charity. Lena thinks she's in line for a promotion that includes my husband and my business. They all have their parts. Cute. Because here's my part. I'm done being scenery. I grab my keys off the hook under the counter. It's almost noon. The lunch rush will hit soon, and Mia will take over register. Mia's 19. With piercings Pamela pretends not to stare at and eyeliner sharp enough to perform minor surgery. I trust Mia. She hustles. She's loyal, and she knows how to shut down a man who leans too far over the counter. "You okay to take lunch, Rush?" I ask her when she walks in. Mia blows a bubble with her gum, pops it, and says, "Always. If somebody gets weird about the avocado upcharge, I will personally walk them to the door and wish them a meaningful afternoon." "Perfect," I say. "If Evan swings by." She rolls her eyes. "I'll tell him you're in the back doing inventory." "Thank you," I say. "Diana," she says as I'm heading for the door. "Yeah?" "You look like you're about to change your hair color or torch the world," she says. "Should I be excited or scared?" "Excited," I say. "Definitely excited." I step outside into the pale noon sun. Maple Ridge looks calm. Lawns neat, cars gleaming, flags waving politely in the light breeze. The kind of neighborhood realtors take photos of for brochures, where they throw words around like community and charm. I lock the cafe door behind me and look down the street toward Willow Lane, where Pamela is probably already staging mason jars with floating candles for tonight's casual garden gathering. I picture her telling Nora in a hushed voice how worried she is about me, how concerned she is about my stress, how grateful she is that Evan is stepping up. I picture Evan in his office, texting Lena under his desk like some teenager, telling her to be patient, telling her I'll get overwhelmed, telling her everybody wins. I picture Lena drawing a heart next to his name in her phone like she's already set the table in my house. Then I picture tonight, string lights, perfect patio, neighbors pretending to admire the roses, Pamela gliding from guest to guest with her soft voice, me walking in, me smiling, me saying in front of all of them, "Pamela, that's interesting, because the will says I'm sole controller as long as my spouse is faithful and honest. You were there. You heard it. Or did the part about faithful and honest slip your mind?" I can already see Pamela's face in my head when I say it. I can already hear the little gasp ripple across the hydrangeas. Maple Ridge loves a gasp. My husband thinks I'm emotional. My husband thinks I exaggerate. My husband also forgot his messages mirror to the shared tablet in the cafe kitchen drawer. Bless his organization skills. Pamela calls it a garden social, which is adorable, because that implies friendship. What it actually is, a live press release with snacks. When I pull up to Willow Lane at 7:05 p.m., the street looks like a real estate brochure. Every porch light is on. Every driveway is washed. Every car is lined up like nobody in this neighborhood has ever had fast food in the back seat. I park at the curb instead of Pamela's driveway. That's intentional. I'm not arriving as the wife. I'm arriving as me. Pamela's backyard is lit like a wedding. String lights, candles in jars, chalkboard signs with sayings like sip and stroll, which should be punishable. Pamela is in pale pink and pearls, holding a wine glass she will never drink from. She carries it like a microphone. "Diana," she says, too warm. "Sweetheart, you made it. I wasn't sure you'd be able to get away from the café. I know you've been overwhelmed." There it is. She opens with overwhelmed. Not even a hello first. Pamela doesn't waste time. "I always make time for family," I say, smiling. That earns side glances from the wives by the cheese board. Maple Ridge women can hear tone from across a yard. The cheese board, by the way, looks like it was styled by a food magazine intern with control issues. Nora is already there. Of course she is. She floats over like she just happened to wander my way and isn't sprinting for first-row drama. Smooth hair, perfect nails, sympathy face. "Oh my gosh, Diana," she says, hand to chest. "How are you? I heard about Henry's, it's just so much." Translation: I heard about the will, Pamela told me, and I'm here to collect material. "I'm fine," I say. "Grandpa set me up well. I'm sure Pamela already told you." Pamela's jaw tightens. Nora flicks her eyes to Pamela, then back to me. Nora loves being the first to say, "Have you heard?" the way some people love cardio. "We're all just relieved Evan can step in," Nora says. "That takes pressure off you. You're great with customers, and Evan's mind for numbers is just, wow." There it is, the script, written by Pamela, starring Evan as responsible husband and me as grateful cafe girl. I look at both of them. "Oh," I say, light, "is that what Pamela's been telling everyone? That Evan's about to take charge?" Nora laughs, fake soft. Not take charge. More like provide structure. "You have such a big heart. Evan can handle the complicated parts." Pamela gives her a proud little nod. She thinks this is going beautifully. I step closer to Pamela. "Funny," I say pleasantly, "because when Henry's will was read, I heard something different." Pamela's smile tightens. "Diana, maybe we don't need to get into legal language tonight with guests. Everyone's here to relax." Everyone is here for sport, and she knows it. I keep my voice calm, but I angle myself so the neighbors can hear without me having to shout. "Henry left $6 million in assets," I say. "Full control of the cafe building, accounts, and the house. He left that to me. Me, Pamela, not Evan." A little ripple moves through the patio. Heads tilt. Glasses pause mid-air. Maple Ridge can act polite, but Maple Ridge was built for this. Pamela's grip tightens on her glass. "Diana," she says softly, warning under the sugar, "that's not necessary." "And," I go on, still smiling, "there was a condition. Henry said I get sole control if my spouse is faithful and honest." That's the wording. Faithful and honest. Now people stop pretending not to listen, which means now I keep going. "If my spouse is not faithful and not honest," I say, clear and smooth, "he gets nothing. No access to accounts, no say in the cafe, no claim to the house, nothing." You could feel the shift. The men by the grill suddenly find a reason to stand closer. One of Pamela's neighbors actually turns her whole body toward us, plate in hand, like the show just started. Pamela tries to laugh. "Diana, that clause is just formal language. Obviously Henry didn't mean—" "Oh, he meant it," I say. "He told the lawyer he didn't like how Evan talks to me about the cafe. He said he didn't want his granddaughter treated like staff in her own place." Pamela's face goes pink. Nora stares, eyes wide, like she didn't rehearse for this twist. Pamela's closest friends are watching her now, not me. That matters. That is status slipping in real time. Pamela leans in, voice so low it's almost a hiss. "Diana, you are embarrassing yourself." There, that word, yourself. Maple Ridge code for know your place. I lean in too. "Am I?" I whisper back. "Because I can say faithful and honest again, louder this time. I can do it by the pergola." "Want me to? Want me to explain why those two words matter for the trust? Want me to explain where your son spends his evenings after work? I can be very specific. For one beat, Pamela's face cracks. She did not know I had proof. She assumed I just had suspicions. She underestimated me. People do that. It's cute. I don't know what you think you're implying, she says. Oh, I'm not implying anything, I say, louder now, sweet. I'm just repeating Henry's terms, faithful and honest, so simple, so important, especially for access to assets like the café and the house. Someone near the olives lets out a quiet sound. Not quite a laugh, not quite a gasp. The whole yard hears it. Pamela reaches out and grabs my arm, hard. You will not talk about this in my home, she whispers. Nora startles. Her elbow bumps a tray. The tray slips and hits the stone patio. Olives roll. A glass spins on its side. The whole backyard freezes. Pamela drops my arm like it burned her. Her perfect little social script is now lying on the patio next to sliced provolone. I crouch, pick up the tray, set it back on the table, slow and calm. Let them see controlled. Let them compare it to Pamela's crack. Then I look her in the eye. Here's what's going to happen, I say softly, just for her. You're going to stop telling people Evan is about to step in and manage my cafe. You're going to stop saying I'm overwhelmed and he's rescuing me. You're going to stop claiming the house is his. You're going to stop tonight. Her mouth opens. I don't let her get a word in. Because if you don't, I say, I will walk to that pergola, stand under those cute string lights, and explain the clause in Henry's will to every person here. Slowly. Then I'll describe, in plain detail, what Evan and his assistant have been planning, and I'll make sure every single person records it. Her face changes, not anger now, panic, quiet and sharp. Diana, she says through her teeth, you do not want to go to war with this family. I smile. Oh, Pamela, I say, you think I'm starting it. Behind her, Nora is watching us with the wide stare of someone who realizes the gossip she brought is already outdated. I turn to Nora. Coffee tomorrow, I say lightly. Before we open, I want to clear the air. Nora blinks, glances at Pamela, then back at me. Of course, she says fast. I'm here for you. I smile like that comforts me. She doesn't know I plan to get her on record bragging about how Pamela always said Evan would run things right once I settled down. Nora will hand me that audio like a gift because she can't resist sounding informed. That's not just social ammo, that's honesty ammo. As in not honest, which matters, because the clause didn't just say faithful, it said faithful and honest. I drift away like I'm done, like I'm just admiring roses. The backyard starts buzzing. You can feel the whisper trail move across the patio like current. Did you hear that? She said assets are hers, faithful and honest. Did you know about that clause? Pamela is already in recovery mode, laughing too brightly with two neighbors, talking fast, spinning, trying to regain center. She can't. You can't unring a phrase like faithful and honest in a town that survives on appearance. And now every person here is thinking the same quiet question. Where is Evan? Let them wonder. Let Pamela sweat. Let Nora think she's still in control for one more night, because tonight wasn't about humiliating Pamela, even if that part was lovely. Tonight was step one. Evan thinks tomorrow night is his grand moment, his turn as responsible husband, where he helps me at the cafe after hours and reviews contracts I'm supposedly too stressed to manage. He thinks it's his audition. I pop a grape from her perfect board and taste victory. Tomorrow night isn't his audition. Tomorrow night is evidence. The cafe feels charged the next morning, like the air knows a secret. The espresso machine hums low. Sunlight slices across the counter, and I'm restocking pastries while rehearsing what I'll never have to say out loud. Mia glances at me between customers, curious. She's heard, of course. Everyone in Maple Ridge knows Pamela's perfect garden party turned into a headline by breakfast. Around here, gossip moves faster than caffeine. Jonah comes in early, coat half-zipped, notebook under his arm. "So," he says, "you set the suburbs on fire last night." "Just a small flare," I reply. He sips his coffee. "Pamela's been calling it a misunderstanding." "She misunderstands a lot of things," I say. He studies me for a beat. "You've got that look." "What look?" "The look of someone who already decided how this ends." He's right. At noon, Nora strolls in, sunglasses too large for her face, pretending she's casual. She orders a latte, sits near the window, perfect stage lighting for her favorite hobby, being seen. I bring her coffee over myself. "Morning, Nora," she lowers her voice. "Pamela's furious. She says you humiliated her." "I repeated facts," I say. "Facts apparently ruin parties." "She's just concerned," Nora says, leaning closer. "She thinks Evan's helping you. You might have misunderstood." I raise an eyebrow. "And how exactly is he helping me?" Nora hesitates, then whispers, "Pamela said once things settle, Evan should handle the finances. You can focus on people. It's for your peace of mind." I nod slowly, letting the words sink in. "Did she really?" "She means well," Nora adds quickly, eager to sound useful. I smile. "I know you always mean well too, Nora." Her face softens. "Of course." "Good," I say, tapping the phone on the table. The screen glows faintly. Voice memo. Recording. 7 minutes later, I have everything I need. Pamela's plans, Evan's intentions, and Nora's endless commentary. Perfect. By evening, the café is empty. I clean slower than usual, stretching time until the text arrives. It does, right on cue. Running late, we'll swing by after dinner to review vendor contracts. I lock the front door, dim the lights, and lay the folder of contracts on the counter. Underneath, I slide the printed screenshots of Evan's messages with Lena, the ones where he promises to step in and take control. I've highlighted them in pink. At 7, headlights sweep across the front windows. Evan steps inside, confident as ever, loosened tie, fake warmth. "Hey babe," he says. "Didn't expect you to stay late." "Thought we could go over everything together," I say. "Transparency's important." He nods, easing into charm mode. "Exactly. I'm just trying to keep things organized. Lena's been helping me." "Lena's very helpful," I interrupt. He freezes. "What does that mean?" I slide the printed screenshots across the counter. "It means I appreciate her dedication, especially after hours." He scans the pages. His color shifts. "Diana, this looks familiar," I ask. "Because it should." He exhales sharply. "You're overreacting." Wrong answer. "Okay," he says quickly. "Yes, we got close, but—" "Closer than you should have been," I say, "and dishonest enough to trigger a clause you didn't bother to read." He stares at me, pretending to stay calm. "You don't want to do this. It'll embarrass both of us." "Maybe," I say. "But I can survive embarrassment. You can't survive losing $6 million. That lands. He blinks, calculating. I pull a small envelope from my bag and set it beside the papers. Letter from Henry's lawyer. Proof review already in process. Once they confirm your dishonesty, everything, cafe, house, accounts, reverts to me. He stares at the envelope like it's toxic. "You can't just—" "I already did," I say. "But don't worry, I left you something." He frowns. "What?" "Check your car." He hesitates, then walks outside. I follow to the doorway. He opens his SUV door and stops cold. On his seat, his gym bag emptied, papers scattered, copies of every message with Lena, each one weighted by a morning Finch cup lid. His voice is low. "You broke into my car?" "No," I say. "I borrowed it, like you borrowed my trust." He shuts the door too hard. "This is petty. This is precision." He looks at me, trying to find a version of me that still flinches. That version's gone. "You always said to enjoy my tips," I tell him. "Here's one for you. Never underestimate the woman who kept your world tidy. She knows where everything is." For a moment, he says nothing. Then he gets in, starts the engine, and drives off faster than he should. I stand in the doorway, the night settling around me, the cafe light spilling onto the sidewalk. The espresso machine clicks off, the hum fading into quiet. Inside, everything smells like coffee and new beginnings. Not the soft kind, the sharp kind that wakes you up whether you want it or not. Tomorrow, Maple Ridge will buzz, Pamela will scramble, Nora will rewrite her version, and Evan will realize that without me, he's just a man with an SUV and a shrinking reputation. I lock the door, switch off the last light, and glance once more at the counter where the papers lay. For years, Evan made sure I remembered I was small. Tips, cafe aprons, the sound of his SUV engine fading like punctuation. Now, the story's mine, and I'm not finished writing. The next morning, Maple Ridge pretends nothing happened. It always does. Lawns still gleam, sprinklers hum, and neighbors still wave too brightly at one another. But I can feel it, the invisible pulse beneath the sidewalks. Gossip doesn't sleep, it simmers. By now, every Pilates instructor, school committee member, and dog-walking clique in town knows Evan Morgan's perfect marriage is cracking. At 7:30 a.m., the cafe is already half full. I can sense the curiosity in the air. People pretending to read menus while waiting to see if I'll break. They want to show. I give them calm. My apron's crisp, my hair smooth, my smile surgical. They'll get nothing else. Jonah comes in last, notebook under his arm, usual half smirk. "So," he says, leaning on the counter, "how's the morning after the storm?" "I'm still standing," I say, pouring him coffee. And apparently that's newsworthy. He studies me. "You okay?" "Better than okay," I say. "I'm organized." Jonah chuckles. "That sounds like something I should be scared of." "You should be," I say lightly, "because organization is underrated revenge." He raises an eyebrow but doesn't press. He knows when to let silence work. By mid-morning, I get a text from Nora. Pamela wants to talk, says it's urgent. Of course she does. Pamela never apologizes directly. She delegates apologies through her satellites. I type back, "Sure." Noon, at the cafe. When Pamela arrives, she brings a gust of expensive perfume and tension. Her pearls are gone today, replaced by small gold hoops, her version of casual. She sits across from me, posture perfect. "Diana," she starts, her tone polished but cautious. "I think we both let things get out of hand." "Did we?" I ask. "Because I thought we just told the truth." Pamela smooths an invisible wrinkle from her sleeve. "You humiliated your husband in public." "He did that himself," I say evenly. She exhales slowly. "Whatever's going on between you two, airing it helps no one, especially not the family reputation." There it is, family reputation, the crown jewel of Maple Ridge. "Pamela," I say, "I understand you value control, but this isn't about the family reputation. It's about the cafe, my inheritance, and your son's choices." She frowns. "You think you can just erase him?" "I don't need to. He erased himself when he decided honesty was optional." Her composure flickers for half a second. "Evan is under pressure. You don't know the stress he's—" "Oh, I know," I cut in. "He's stressed from trying to rewrite my grandfather's legacy while flirting with his assistant. That's exhausting work." Pamela's lips tighten. "You sound cruel." "I sound informed." The silence stretches until she finally says, "What do you want?" That's when I realize she's not here for peace. She's here to negotiate. She's terrified the clause will hold, and she's calculating what damage I can do. "What I want," I say slowly, "is for you to stop meddling. Stop telling people Evan's managing the cafe. Stop pretending you're saving me. And tell your son to stay away from my business, literally and legally." Pamela leans back, eyes narrowing. "And if we don't?" I smile faintly. "Then the recordings, screenshots and message threads I've collected will have a lovely audience, starting with your investment club, who adore a scandal when it's wrapped in local flavor. Pamela's jaw locks. You wouldn't. Pamela, I say softly, you really don't know me at all. She stands, clutching her purse like it's a shield. You're making a mistake. I usually do, I say, but not this time. She leaves without another word. The door chimes softly behind her, like punctuation on a declaration. By late afternoon, I get a call from Evan. We need to talk. Tonight. Please. I consider ignoring him, but then again, finales deserve audiences. Fine, I text back. Café. 8. When he arrives, the town's asleep, and the sky hangs heavy with summer heat. I've left the lights low again, the space quiet except for the hum of the fridge. He steps in looking tired. Not guilt-tired, but angry-tired. Why are you doing this? He demands. Doing what? Protecting what's mine. You're destroying everything, he snaps. My job's on the line. Lena's terrified. Mom won't talk to me. You made a public scene. You made a private mess, I say. I just turned on the lights. He paces, running his hand through his hair. You think you've won? That money, those assets, they'll crush you. You have no idea how to handle them without me. I laugh, quiet and sharp. Evan, I've been handling things since you started your corporate fantasy. I ran payroll, negotiated contracts, fixed machines, built relationships. You were too busy performing success to notice. He glares at me. You can't prove half of what you're claiming. I slide my phone across the counter. You're welcome to listen. Nora has quite the memory when she's trying to impress someone. And your messages with Lena, perfectly time-stamped. He doesn't touch the phone. His jaw tightens, his confidence cracking like glass. You're bluffing, he says. I step closer. You're stalling. For a long second, he says nothing. Then his voice drops. You always wanted to be the victim. No, I say quietly. I wanted respect. You mistook that for weakness. He exhales, frustrated. So what now? You ruin me? Is that the plan? No, I say. I don't need to ruin you. You're already unraveling. I just removed the thread. He stares at me, something unreadable behind his eyes. You think this makes you powerful? It makes me free. He grabs the folder off the counter and flips it open, probably expecting blank pages or bluff material. Instead, he finds copies of the official legal notice. His face shifts, recognition, then panic. They're finalizing it, I say. Your access is revoked. Every account, every property. I even notified the utility companies. You'll need to set up your own billing now. He looks up at me, furious and stunned. You're unbelievable. I prefer unstoppable. For a moment, neither of us moves. The air between us feels charged, like static before a storm. Then I walk to the back door, hold it open and say, we're done here. Evan stares at me like he's still trying to find the woman he used to patronize. Then he laughs once, bitter, and steps out. The sound of his SUV starting drifts off into the dark. Inside, I exhale slowly. Not relief, just quiet clarity. The cafe feels different again. Lighter. Mia will ask tomorrow if everything's settled, and I'll tell her yes. Pamela will probably launch a sympathy campaign. Nora will sell her version of events, and Evan will find someone new to blame. Let them. Maple Ridge thrives on appearances, and I've learned how to weaponize them. I look around the cafe, Henry's picture still hanging above the register, the chipped Morning Finch sign leaning against the wall, and feel something close to peace. Not the tidy kind, but the earned kind. The hum of the refrigerator fades into silence. I turn off the lights, the glow shrinking until only the street lamps outside remain. The storm has passed, the air smells clean, and for the first time, I don't feel small anymore. By the next afternoon, Maple Ridge feels like it's holding its breath. The cafe is busy but quieter than usual. People order politely, whisper over their cups, and pretend they're not watching me. It's the polite kind of curiosity that smells like gossip. I've been in this town long enough to know that silence doesn't mean peace. It means everyone's comparing notes. Evan hasn't come around since last night. That tells me everything I need to know. He's regrouping, probably calling lawyers, probably calling his mother. Pamela's likely staging her own crisis management brunch right now, complete with mimosas and moral outrage. Nora's probably there too, wide-eyed and breathless, assuring everyone she's staying neutral. Mia walks past the counter holding a tray of muffins. "So," she says, "is it weird if I say I'm proud of you?" I glance up. Proud of me for what? For not crying in a supply closet. That's what every other woman I know would have done. I smirk. Don't give me too much credit. There wasn't enough space in there anyway. She laughs and moves to the front. I watch her greet customers, steady as ever. She doesn't know it, but she's the future of this place. She works hard, cares deeply, and doesn't scare easily. Henry would have liked her. The lunch rush fades. I take a moment to breathe, flipping through invoices, trying not to think about the lawyer's next steps. The clause is ironclad. Evan can't undo it, but men like him never admit defeat quietly. He'll make noise. They always do. At 2:00, Jonah walks in. No notebook today. Just him, hands in his jacket pockets, eyes sharp as always. "You look calm," he says. "I'm aiming for unbothered," I say. "How am I doing?" "Convincing," he says. "Though you've got that tiny vein in your temple that says you've been running mental math all day." "Can't help it," I reply. "I like numbers that end in zeros." He grins. "I heard Pamela's been doing community outreach. The sympathy kind." "Oh, she's fast," I say. "She's probably rewritten the whole story already. According to her, I'm the fragile wife who overreacted to office friendship." Jonah chuckles. "Office friendship, that's one way to put it." "She'll spin it until she believes it," I say. "Maple Ridge runs on denial and hydrangeas." He leans closer. "And what do you run on?" "Caffeine and petty justice." Jonah laughs. "Well, at least you're honest about it." Before I can answer, the bell above the door rings again. I don't need to turn around to know who it is. The temperature of the room changes. Conversations pause. Evan. He looks different. Not broken, not sorry, just stripped of his usual polish. No tie, no watch, no practiced grin. He looks around like he's not sure whether to stand tall or disappear. "Diana," he says, "we need to talk." I cross my arms. "We already did." "Not like that," he says. "Just give me 5 minutes." Jonah steps back, watching him like he's measuring threat levels. I shake my head slightly at him. "It's fine. Or at least, I'll make it fine." 5 minutes, I say. "After that, I'm charging you rent." He follows me to the back office. The cafe noise fades behind the door. I sit on the edge of the desk. He stays standing, pacing once, twice, then stops. "Diana, I messed up," he says, voice low. "I know that, but it's not what you think." That's what every guilty man says right before trying to explain context. He exhales. "I was stupid. I let things get blurry with Lena, but it wasn't about her. It was about me feeling useless. You had that clause hanging over everything, like a test I didn't agree to take." I almost laugh. "You mean the clause you triggered by failing the test?" "Come on," he says, frustrated. "You can't tell me you never resented me. You loved playing the underdog." "That's your version," I say. "You needed to believe I was small so you could feel big." He shakes his head. "You don't get it. I spent years trying to make us look successful. You didn't care how we looked." "You're right," I say. "I cared how we were." He rubs his forehead. "You really think you're better off without me?" "Absolutely," I say. He lets out a short, humorless laugh. "You think Maple Ridge will let you stay on top? They'll find something new to chew on next week. You'll be yesterday's story." "Then I'll be free," I say. "Free from pretending, free from saving your reputation." He looks at me, searching for something, Maybe the version of me he could still manipulate. He doesn't find her. I didn't mean to hurt you, he says quietly. Maybe not, I say, but you did it anyway. For a long moment, there's nothing but the hum of the refrigerator and the distant clatter of dishes out front. Then I stand. You're out of time. He nods once, jaw tight. You'll regret this, he says softly. Maybe, I say, but I'll do it from my café. He turns and leaves. The door shuts behind him, the bell chiming faintly. I wait until I hear his car pull away before I exhale. Jonah knocks once on the office door and steps in. Everything good? Good enough, I say. You sure you don't want me to? No, I cut in. I've handled worse. He studies me for a beat, then nods. You know, he says, I always thought this place had good energy. Now it's got teeth. That makes me laugh, really laugh. Teeth, huh? He smiles. Sharp ones. When he leaves, I walk to the front window. Outside, the late afternoon sun glows against the glass. Across the street, Mrs. Reynolds from the HOA pretends to inspect her mailbox, but keeps glancing this way. Good. Let her look. Let them all look. I pick up a dish towel and start wiping the counter that's already spotless. The cafe hums around me, alive and steady. I can feel Henry here, not as a ghost, just as proof. Proof that legacy isn't inherited, it's earned one decision at a time. I think about Pamela, probably spinning stories about my emotional instability. I think about Lena, sitting in some office, realizing her promotion vanished with one clause. And I think about Evan, driving through perfect Maple Ridge streets that no longer belong to him. They'll all recover eventually. They'll learn to pretend again. But something's shifted, and they know it. For once, I'm not the one being talked about. I'm the one directing the conversation. By closing time, the cafe feels like mine in a way it never has before. The air smells of espresso and quiet victory. I lock up, step outside, and breathe in the evening. The streetlights flicker on, casting gold over the sign that still says, Morning Finch. Henry's Cafe. My cafe. I glance up the street and catch sight of Evan's SUV parked halfway down the block. He's sitting inside, engine off, headlights out, watching. I don't flinch. I raise my hand in a slow, deliberate wave. He doesn't wave back. After a few seconds, the SUV starts, rolls forward, and disappears around the corner. I smile to myself, small and sharp. He came here hoping to see regret. He didn't find it. Maple Ridge will keep gossiping tomorrow. Pamela will try another version. Nora will dramatize it at lunch. That's fine. Let them all talk. I've learned how to make gossip work for me. Because power isn't loud here. It's quiet, measured, served with a smile and a cup of coffee. I turn off the cafe's sign, slip my keys into my pocket, and start walking home. The night feels warm, calm, electric, with possibility. Whatever comes next, I'm ready for it, and this time, I'm the one writing the story. 2 days later, the town looks the same, but feels completely different. The hydrangeas are still trimmed into perfection, the sidewalks still spotless, but I can tell people are walking slower when they pass the cafe. They linger just long enough to peek inside, to see whether I've cracked. I smile at every one of them. Let them look. Curiosity is the cheapest currency in Maple Ridge, and I've learned how to spend it well. By 9 a.m., the cafe hums like a machine in rhythm. The grinder whirs, the air smells of espresso and warm sugar, and Mia handles the counter like she was born behind it. She's wearing one of Henry's old aprons, the faded one with the blue stitching. It fits her, somehow. The door opens and I look up. Jonah's there again, holding 2 coffees instead of 1. Thought you might need the strong stuff, he says. I smirk. Is that concern or an attempt at market research? A little of both, he says. The town's buzzing, by the way. Pamela's story keeps changing. Yesterday, you were the tragic cafe widow. Today, you're the ice queen of Willow Lane. Progress, I say. At least I got promoted. He laughs. You do realize you've become Maple Ridge's main event, right? Good. Maybe they'll forget to criticize the lawn heights for a week. Jonah sets the second cup in front of me. So, what's next for you, Diana the Ice Queen? I glance out the window. Across the street, Pamela's SUV is parked crooked in front of the boutique, and she's standing by the entrance, talking fast to two women who nod like synchronized parrots. Next, I say, is cleaning up the rest of the mess. Jonah raises an eyebrow. Meaning, I say, I'm not done. At noon, the door swings open again, and Nora appears. She hesitates, scanning the café like she's checking for an exit plan. Can we talk? She says. I motion toward the table by the window. Of course, Nora. You look nervous. Did Pamela send you again? Her cheeks flush. No, I came on my own. I take a slow sip of my coffee. That's brave of you. She fidgets with her phone. Pamela's been saying awful things about you, and Evan's been calling everyone, trying to get sympathy. But I wanted you to know I didn't repeat anything. Well, not much. Not much, I repeat. That's refreshingly honest. She sighs. You have to understand. People talk. I didn't mean harm. It just spread. Like wildfire, I say softly. But here's the thing about wildfire. It clears the weeds. Nora blinks, unsure whether I'm forgiving her or threatening her. I let her wonder. I really am sorry, she says, voice trembling. I lean forward. Then do something useful. Tomorrow morning at your yoga group, mention how the lawyer confirmed the clause was upheld. Mention that I've already transferred ownership of the cafe and the house into a trust. And most importantly, mention that Evan's been warned not to contest. That'll get around faster than any press release. She nods too quickly. Okay, I can do that. I smile. Good. And Nora? Yes? Be sure to add that I'm thinking of franchising the cafe. You'll sound very informed. Her eyes light up. Really? Are you? Eventually, I say, standing. One town at a time. When she leaves, I finally exhale. It's strange. How satisfying it feels to use gossip as leverage instead of armor. Maple Ridge is a stage, and I've finally learned my role. By late afternoon, I get a message from an unknown number. Meet me at the cafe after close. One last talk. Evan, of course. The final act always calls for a curtain. I don't answer. I simply prepare. At 8, the cafe is closed, lights dimmed. The night hums outside. I'm not afraid, not anymore, but I'm alert. When Evan arrives, he doesn't look angry. He looks desperate, a version of him I've never seen before. I'm not here to fight, he says quietly, just to ask for something small. That's new, I say. You usually ask for everything. He doesn't rise to it. Diana, I lost everything. House, money, friends. You win. I just need my car. It's still registered under both of our names. I can't even sell it without your signature. I tilt my head. You came here to negotiate your SUV? Yes, he says, voice tight. I know I don't deserve anything else. For a moment, I almost pity him. Almost. Then I remember every enjoy your tips smirk, every condescending laugh when I mentioned the cafe, every time he reminded me how small my dreams were. Fine, I say. You can have the car. His head snaps up. Seriously? On one condition, I say. You tell me the truth. Why Lena? He hesitates. You wouldn't believe me. Try me. He looks down, voice low. She made me feel important. You didn't need me anymore. I let that hang in the air, long enough for him to hear how pathetic it sounds. You're right, I finally say. I didn't need you. That's not a flaw, that's evolution. He doesn't argue, he just nods, defeated. I sign the papers for the car, slide them across the counter and say, We're finished, Evan. He takes them, eyes flicking up to mine. You've changed. Good, I say. It means I'm doing something right. He leaves without another word. The bell above the door chimes softly. I stand there, letting the quiet settle. Outside, I can see him drive away. Slowly this time, no arrogance left in the movement. Jonah appears at the door a few minutes later. "You're still here," he says. "Habit," I reply. He steps inside, glancing toward the counter. "He came back?" "For closure," I say. "He got it." Jonah looks at me for a long moment, then smiles. "You know, Diana, you could write a manual on controlled chaos." I laugh. "No one would believe it." "Oh, they would," he says. "Maple Ridge loves stories like yours. Woman rises, husband falls. It's poetic." "Poetry's overrated," I say. "I prefer action." Jonah grins. "Then keep writing it." When he leaves, I walk behind the counter, turn off the lights, and look out over the café. The street is quiet now, the town finally out of energy for the night. I think about Henry, about the claws, about all the times I underestimated myself because someone else told me to. I think about how easy it is to disappear in a marriage, and how hard it is to reclaim your own name afterward. This place, this café, isn't just a business anymore. It's proof. Proof that starting over doesn't always look like rebuilding. Sometimes it looks like standing exactly where you were, but stronger. The clock on the wall ticks once, twice. I grab my coat and keys, pause by the door, and flip the sign from closed to open tomorrow. Outside, the night air feels lighter than it has in years. Revenge wasn't supposed to be satisfying. It was supposed to be messy. But maybe satisfaction isn't about hurting someone back. It's about watching them finally see what they lost. As I walk home under the soft hum of streetlights, I catch my reflection in a storefront window. Calm, certain, unapologetically standing in my own story. And for the first time, I realize something simple but absolute. I'm not just free. I'm finally seen.